You see the message, your phone lights up, you read it in the preview. Maybe you even open it fully, and then you don't reply, not because you forgot, not because you don't care, but because something in you quietly says, not yet. So the phone goes face down. Minutes turn into hours. You carry the reply in your head while doing other things, showering, working, lying in bed. From the outside, it looks like indifference, like avoidance, like a power move. But inside, it feels like something else entirely. It feels like breathing room. And the strange part is this: you might actually care more than the people who reply instantly. So why does waiting feel safer than responding? If you do this, there's something important to hear first. You're not broken. You're not rude. You're not secretly manipulative or emotionally unavailable. This behavior didn't come out of nowhere. It makes sense. And more than that, it has a job. Somewhere along the way, your brain learned that responding immediately came with a cost, pressure, expectations, emotional demands. So it adapted quietly, efficiently. This isn't you being difficult. It's your nervous system trying to stay regulated in a world that's always reaching for you. For some people, this shows up most clearly in close relationships. A partner asks a simple question. A friend sends a long voice note. A family member texts, "Can we talk?" Your body reacts before your mind does. A tightness in the chest, a subtle urge to pull back. Psychologically, this is often tied to attachment and emotional safety. When connection once felt unpredictable or overwhelming, the brain learns to create space around it, not distance, space. Delaying a reply becomes a way to stay connected without being consumed. You're not rejecting the person, you're regulating yourself. Think about childhood moments where you had to respond the right way, where a reply could change someone's mood, where silence felt safer than saying the wrong thing. That pattern doesn't disappear just because you're older. It just gets quieter, more polite, more socially acceptable. At work, it can look even more invisible. An email comes in, you read it, and suddenly your brain is running 10 different outcomes. If you reply now, will they expect more? Will this turn into a longer conversation? Will this open a door you don't have energy to walk through? So you wait, not to avoid responsibility, but to reduce mental load. This is your brain protecting its limited capacity. In a world of constant pings, delayed replies become a boundary you don't have to explain. There's also something deeper happening with control, not control over others, control over your internal state. When life once felt intrusive or demanding, choosing when to respond becomes a small reclaiming of agency, a way of saying, I get to decide the pace. It's subtle, but it matters. Pop culture loves to frame delayed replies as games, as strategy, as emotional chess. But for most people who do this, it's not a game at all. It's closer to an exhale. You reply when your thoughts feel organized, when your emotions feel quieter, when you can show up as yourself, not as a reflex. And this is where it gets interesting. The brain doesn't actually want silence. It wants predictability. By waiting, you're creating a small buffer, a familiar room where you can gather yourself before stepping back into connection. This behavior often starts during periods of overwhelm, busy years, emotionally intense relationships, times when everyone seemed to need something from you at once. Back then, immediate replies may have led to burnout, misunderstandings, feeling trapped in conversations you weren't ready for. So your system learned a workaround. Delay equals safety. As life changes, the behavior stays, even if the danger is no longer there. Not because you're stuck, but because habits that once protected us are slow to leave. As you age, the meaning of this behavior shifts. In your teens, it might have been about social anxiety. In your 20s, emotional overwhelm. In your 30s and beyond, energy management. The action looks the same. The reason underneath evolves. What once protected you from emotional chaos may now be protecting your peace. The brain isn't rigid. It's conservative. It keeps what worked. At its core, delaying replies is a form form of emotional regulation. It lowers the intensity. It restores a sense of control. It reduces the noise. It's like wrapping yourself in a blanket before stepping back into the cold, like dropping anchor before responding to a wave. For a moment, you're not being pulled by someone else's urgency. You're home, and that doesn't mean you don't care. Often, it means you care enough to want to respond honestly, calmly, as yourself. So, if you've ever felt guilty about this, if you've labeled yourself as distant or slow or difficult, there's another way to see it. This isn't a flaw in your character. It's a story about how you learn to stay connected without losing yourself. You're not ignoring people. You're listening to your own capacity. And maybe that's not something to fix. Maybe it's something to understand. Because at the end of the day, this behavior isn't about messages. It's about safety, pace, and the quiet human need to choose when and how we open the door.